Alright, I have my coffee. Time to show you guys this Boleslavsky Steinitz 3-knight c3. This is the classical French defense. White's asked a question with this e-pawn. We're not pinning, so that's another variation which solves the problem of the e-pawn. We're not playing bishop d3. Well, it's not we, I mean, we're the black side of this. So, I'm just going to go to the Steinitz variation, which is f4. And actually, if one looks up the proportions of Grandmaster games, if you play the classical French, then this is the most common variations you'll see. I don't play the winnower because I don't like trading my dog for a cat really quick. That is, I don't want to trade my dark squared bishop for their knight in the winnower for no reason. It's not my idea of fun, you know. Alright, so this is the Steinitz, and as the computer says, it's equal, and this is the most common move. And then I have analyzed it deeper than just this depth, and I memorized the lines. This is just step 17 now, but there's a lot of different ways to play from here. In the event that they take, we can play bishop takes. That's almost like a sideline. I want to go through some of this quick. See where we are here. This is waiting for their move 8. And the majority of the video is going to be queen d2 here, which is actually the top choice now at depth 21. I'm looking at it from the black perspective, although I am neutral in my objectivity here. So here you play this. This is kind of the more general. This is a general thing. You play here before the queen. Oh. And now you can play rook e1 here. This is just a general wash through, because I don't want to make it a long video, but I know a lot about what's going on here and the kind of themes that we're trying to play for. So that's one general continuation. And then another general thing is here, castle, here. Always fianchetto that bishop before the queen. And just one concept I want to say is called the tension, snapping the brace, is whenever this knight leaves to try to attack on f7, then you can snap the tension here, and the bracing in the center is come down. So we won a piece here. Believe it or not, see, we won a piece here. The queen is pinned. So this is mechanism, which I call the tension snapping of the bracing of the center, is in the event that their knight jumps in here. And the strategic intellectual principle here is that we have pressure on the center in this, because the knight's on c3. Whenever the knight's on c3, which is this variation, the d4 pawn is not supported as much. So commit that to memory. the knight's on c3, then the d4 pawn is not supported as much. Alright, now we're going to get to the main content, which is an interesting gambit, a really fancy gambit that I've discovered here in this game. Let me see, queen here, and then a3 is played because they don't want the pawns to start belaying themselves down. The queenside play will be complicated, so they just play a3. So if b4 is ever played, then their rook's open. So I went through a couple of general. Anyone ask a question on comment, and I'll go into specific variations. But really, this is some good stuff. And I'm confident when I see this Boleslavsky Steinitz thing coming up, and I have a fun game. And some of the other knowledge to share here is that after a3, we have a surprise coming up. So I'm trying to just share this knowledge because I think it's some kind of weird anomaly gambit thing, which I think is cool. So I think it's interesting, so I want to share the knowledge. That's the reason why I did this. Alright, g5 can be played here. And these are honestly the most natural moves, is when you get to move 10 here. This is white's move 10. What's going to be played, you know? And the biggest ones are first, knight snaps. When the knight snaps, then we snap, and there's a little fork here in the center, so we need to exchange, and then the queen has a couple of choices, probably here, and then we create the diagonal battery here from g1 to a7 with the queen and the bishop. So we gambited a pawn, they cut our pinky off, you gambited a pawn, but we have a dog for a cat, we have a bishop for a knight, and this game is going to get tactical. And obviously you can imagine that they're not going to be castling on the king side in this position too easily, or the queen side for that matter. And we're safer in the center than they are because of the nature of these positions. Alright, so that was just the one tiny little facet there. And here we are, move 10 of this gambit that I want to share because I've discovered objective knowledge that is very surprising in the proofs. So I think that is worth sharing to people because usually you don't see some strange gambit as black in the most natural moves. It's like an alien thing. This is like an alien thing going on here. Can you dig it? So that was after knight takes, and then here the central permutative sequence here is when they take with the pawn. Now you can see that their center is collapsing based on our principle that c3 was never played. Concordantly, we have less on the bracing of d4, and d4 braces e5. So now we could take e5, knight c takes e5. See? So I went over when the knight takes, and now this is when the pawn takes. And then this has two permutative stems on it, and this is the first stem when the knight's taking on d4 right here. and then we take here. And the other permutative stem I'll go after this. So now I'll just give an example in this variation, but in this you'll see we've already won the pawn back. So the material scales are balanced, and then this is kind of like a sequence that you can imagine would occur, something like this. And if you're playing blitz, and maybe they play rook takes f7. This is I doubt anyone would play this, but we'll see. You can see it's about equal right here. Depth 17, they got 0.13 advantage, so that's really small for going 17 moves into the French defense. And then this is the only other thing. Watch out for this. So they check. We move over here, and there's a certain thing right here. Check. See, it's equal here even after a rook sack. These are really weird, anomalous lines here. Alright, but you can defend this, so they go back, and then you take here, and then you go here, and it's just really strange position. I mean, yeah, this is just an abstract thing if you want to go over that after, but the other permutative stem on this tree of knowledge is now bishop takes here. So the pawn takes on d4, bishop takes, and it's at this part of everything when we play queen out here. And the reason that we do this is just to see what move they're going to play. So we got queen out here. What's going to be happening, you know? And there's a pin on the A pawn. We can snap on d4 potentially, and they need to recapture with the knight, because if they recapture with the queen, then we have b4, and after they recapture with the knight, then we have other knight takes. So d4 e3 is the recommended move. They bring the bishop back, and we can play a couple of lines here, but I really like this one. When you push, so if they go to a2, then you take on a3, and then pawn takes, and they have a vulnerable king side. Here, take, take. So you observe the position here, and it's actually an advantage to us at depth 18. And there's a couple of things to play, but they actually like not even taking the pawn on a 3, they like bishop here or h6. And coming back here. C4, this is an example. Here. Most people probably just trade E2, and then you take here. So this even goes into the end game, and we have an advantage here after that strange gambit. So I might call this a new look, or a new look at the Steinitz Boleslavsky, maybe a gambit. I'll put it in the other section of the description. And then the computer move here is E87. Alright, so I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I don't know how long it is, but the main thing right here is that these are the natural flow moves, and then G5 was played here, and you know, the D4 pawn's vulnerable, C3 isn't supporting it, and G5 attacks F4, which supports D4. So it's a whole commentary almost about pawn play and the natural state of pawns supporting each other in chains and what's happening with that. So if you like playing with pawns, look at this. But really, I think that this is good knowledge to share because it's an objectively true contradiction to the classical knowledge in the classical French of the Steinitz Boleslavsky variation. So that I just wanted to pass on. I wanted to pass on that knowledge. So later, I hope that that was actually intellectually interesting. And it's true that if you play it, this is the way to play it as well, I promise.